Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between sOulstylish versus EG Idra here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. EG Idra spawning as the blue Zerg this time, meanwhile he is playing against sOulstylish, a red Protoss player on the north side of the map. I did get a couple comments from the programmers out there who gave me a couple suggestions on how to improve my little ad blocker or my little screen overlay. So I did make those suggestions and I do like it a lot more now. So I will go ahead and show you what I did develop. So whenever you click there now, you can see the player 1 information, you can change the color, you can update, and then yeah, that's all that. But yeah, anyways, getting back to the game, Idra's speaking Korean. That is a bit of a surprise to me. I wasn't sure that Idra had picked up that much Korean. Anyways, taking a look at the production tabs now, we are getting pylons and overlords into play. If you guys cannot tell, my voice does sound an octave lower. Some people say it sounds more like a robot, as though I didn't sound like a robot before. But yeah. My voice, I know it does sound like a robot, and anyways, just gonna get back into the game. We have a drone now making its way out, and it will be doing some scouting on the north hand side of the map. I'm hoping to get over this cold sometime soon. I have a glass of hot water, honey and lemon juice sitting next to me that I've been trying to drink and trying to sip on throughout the day, trying to get better. sOulstylish opening up with a pretty standard gateway, already has his assimilator up, and we should be getting a Cybernex core there. The hatchery now being placed down by Idra, so Idra going for a fast hatchery here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. We'll see what's going to be happening, and in a pretty odd maneuver, he does not have an overlord anywhere near his hatchery, so that is a little bit of a peculiar placement, just because sometimes players will try to warp in cannons right next to their Daisy the drone now battling it out against Peppy the probe. The probe will be able to pull off, and now 2 additional probes now coming in. It looks like the Cybernex core is still delayed for quite some time, just because this drone from Idra able to move around, and it looks like able to now push through here, and now canceling that Cybernex core on accident. That is also a lot of hurt, and was trying to do a gas block, unable to do so, now losing that one particular drone. We can see the probe just still wandering around, able to get sight. We already have an extractor being built and a spawning pool now being morphed in, so metabolic boosted lings most likely will be coming out in just a moment. Now in north versus south Xel'Naga Caverns, it really is important to try to establish your additional bases and figure out what your long-term goal and strategy is. And as I follow this one probe, the probe had activated the Xel'Naga watchtower, looked like it was returning home, and now it looks like it's just sitting over here on this high ground, and we may have a proxy play of some sort. Would be kind of curious as to how that works out, as we now also have a additional gateway warping in. So I'm not sure what will be proxied, if anything will be proxied at all. Perhaps sOulstylish just looking to do some additional scouting, but he already knows that there is a hatchery down over here. So with the hatchery, he knows that there is an expansion. He needs to either finish the game very quickly and invest very heavily into his army, or he needs to establish an expansion of his own. Otherwise, he will fall in terms of the late game. We have Idra now moving in with another pathing drone, and now wandering around this location here. He is going to see that there is a Twilight Council and a robotics facility. So Twilight Council robotics facility, that normally indicates to me that he is going to be trying to go for a dark shrine with a robotics facility warping. Warp prism warping. We have a probe now still wandering around, and as I talk more and more, I realize how raspy my voice is. I haven't been talking for most of the day, so I didn't realize how bad my voice really is. A probe now wandering off to the north side of the map. It will be able to return home. It looks like the scouting drone was taken down, and no, sOulstylish now going for blink stalkers instead. The blink stalkers, a very curious maneuver, I would say, as he's also getting a warp prism. So this may be a drop play, warping in units and then being able to blink all the stalkers from the low ground into the high ground. That will allow him to get a lot of sight. We now need to get some stalkers underneath that overlord so that Idra does not get that much scouting information. Idra does have an Overlord hiding over here, making sure that there is nothing happening here. And now as one Stalker now just going to start shooting down this Overlord, that Overlord will be able to see the robotics facility. Is it going to see the Warp Prism? sOulstylish rallying it to the wrong direction, and he will be spotted in just a second. Oh no, down it goes. Change the rally position. Will be able to pick up a couple of those Stalkers, maybe even some sentries, and then perhaps try to do a block. So what normally happens here is he will come into this location, drop the sentry. The sentry will then place down a force field here, and then warp in some additional units. And by warping in those additional units, he's going to be able to get a lot of damage into the main base. The main base doesn't have all too much, only a queen and whatever one hatchery can train up. More spawn larvae coming in. You can see the Warp Prism now warping in some additional Stalkers as well. Perhaps the Zealot will jump inside that Warp Prism. Another Stalker now warping in. And how is this going to work out? The Warp Prism now just moving on once again. And what will be happening, the Warp Prism now going to just drop itself off over here. The Stalkers are going to simply just blink up that ramp. There's the force field. No force field yet. And the Stalkers need to get up there and blink. And there you go. The Roaches are now caught on the wrong side. Nicely done. And now that sentry with a lot of energy will be able to continue to place down force fields. And are we gonna get another force field? No second force field. There he goes, finally splitting up that army. And sOulstylish doing a great job with that force field placement. How much damage will be dealt? A lot of those Roaches are now just stuck on the low ground. Another force field now placed down. A new sentry coming into play as well. So it's going to be another 15 seconds, and then another force field will be placed down as the Stalkers just try to get as much damage as possible. So where is that force field? Are we going to get another force field there? No, trying to get some damage onto the Roaches as the Roaches are just continuing to battle it out. There's that force field right behind them. The Warp Prism should be able to warp in some additional units. Back and forth, the sentry needs to be pulled back, otherwise it is going to be lost. Down it goes. Sentries are the most key critical part of this army at this stage, as he's just continually blocking Idra from really being able to do anything at all. Zealots and Stalkers still warping in. Still plenty of gas, so I'm not quite sure why he isn't trying to warp in some additional sentries. The Roaches finally make it in, but a lot of damage has already been dealt. Down goes that last sentry there. Stalkers are now going after those units. Perhaps you should start doing some blink micro. And yeah, there you go. Blinking away with those lower hit point units. Two Zealots and the Stalker continuing to engage here. Stalkers now blinking away. The Zealots need to try to engage, and now blinking straight into a group of Zerglings. The Warp Prism now may get taken down. It needs to fly away, but the damage has already been dealt. Unit-wise, 19 versus 19 though, so not that many probes coming in from Stylish at all. So Idra still could make a comeback into this game. Taking a look at the army sizes though, 1100 versus, and taking a look at army supply, you can just see all of that information there. And just keeping track of the game even further, sOulstylish is still slightly behind in terms of army size, but still warping in some additional units. And now Warp Prism warping in units along that north ridge over there, and so much damage is being dealt. Zealots now going after Roaches. The Roaches do have slightly faster movement speed. More Stalkers need to be warped in here, but so much damage still and to be had. So many Roaches on the low ground. The Zealots perhaps just going to jump inside that Warp Prism and now fly away. No additional units currently being trained, as more Stalkers are now being warped in here. Taking a look at the income once again, 19 Harvesters versus 16. So Idra now being forced to just train up as many drones as he can, trying to get back into this. He also needs another queen in order to increase his production, and now 3 changelings making their way across the map. It's kind of cute. The slithering along the ground. More Stalkers now making their way back down, and sOulstylish just picking off each of those Zealots one at a time. Down they go, and in comes a swarm of Zerglings, but those Zerglings are not going to be able to get that much damage across blink microed Stalkers, as those Stalkers just able to pull away just as they are about to lose some actual hit points and actually have some actual damage dealt. Stalkers now making their way in once again. 2 additional Stalkers, more Zealots warping in, and a Sentry now being added to this group. So the Sentry going to be very, very critical. And the Warp Prism play just absolutely beautiful so far in this game. More Zerglings now being trained. Metabolic boost on those Zerglings in order to try to do a decent surround. There's a force field on the ramp. More battling it out. The Zealots are going to get surrounded. The Stalkers perhaps will start blinking away. There you go, blinking behind that line there, as more and more damage and Zerglings are trying to funnel down here. Idra losing to blink Stalkers with force fields on the ramp, as what Zerg just likes to expand so quickly. This tactic works out very, very well. Roaches continue to battle it out, trying to get more damage. The Stalkers are still pulling away. More units still being warped in. A mobile Warp Prism, essentially a moving pylon at this stage, and also a shuttle able to pick up units. As the game continues, Hydralisks are now trying to battle it out, and Idra says game. So yeah, nicely done by sOulstylish Idra, losing to a very well played, very well executed sentry block on the ramp. The Stalkers with Blink, an easy way to make sure that your army stays on that high ridge as well, and you don't have to try to move up and down between that Warp Prism. Really, really well played. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I am gonna just let my voice rest. And yeah, hope to see you guys on Battle.net.